Alright, so in today's video, I want to talk about a game called Where Winds Meet. Where Winds Meet is an action RPG set in ancient China, or a fantasy version of China, rather, is the shortest way to put it. Now, if you're a new world player like me and you're really curious what Where Winds Meet is about, that is why I wanted to make this video. So to start off with, it's action combat, which is probably one of the most important things for players like me and you if you're a new world player. And second, it's also coming out on November the 15th. It's free and it has no pay to win. You're probably wondering, if it's free and it has no pay to win, how is it going to make money? And the short answer is it has very pricey cosmetics. If you've ever played Once Human, I'm an avid Once Human enjoyer. It is going to have some very expensive cosmetics that are fully optional. There's going to be also ways to get some free cosmetics in game, like Once Human did as well. So I wouldn't worry about too much about that. There'll probably be some cheaper cosmetics too, but that's not really the focus. I want to really focus on the game itself, because that's sort of the point, right? It's action combat. It has a bit of a class system, but there's still some freedom in that. There is a total of 7 weapons that you can mix and match depending on the class you pick. They call the classes schools, so schools of, I guess, art. So you've got a few different ones there. I'm going to be making a ranged build, and I'm going to talk about all the weapons, or rather put all the weapons up on screen, because I can't remember them off the top of my head, but there is the Holy Trinity, and that sort of is pretty important for someone like me, as you've got healing, you've got, tanking, you've got, of course, DPS. Healing in this game is not a life staff like New World. It is actually very different. You have a fan and an umbrella. There's a whole sort of speculation about whether this game is an MMO, and that's something I want to get onto. Is this game an MMO? And I think the shortest way to put it is that I think it's an MMO in the way New World is an ARPG. They don't label it an MMO, but it has a lot of MMO features. It has in-game PvP modes. It has in-game open world PvP through a criminal bounty system, which is pretty interesting. There's no flagging, but that bounty system will come into play with open world PvP, whether you're a hunter or a criminal, which is pretty interesting. Also has a full jail system tied to that, where you can break your guild mates out, and it does have a guild system as well, which is pretty cool. A lot of in-game activities there. It has professions. It has in-game raiding, 10-man raids and 5-man dungeons. 10-man dungeons, from what I've seen from the China version. If you didn't know, the China version of this game has been out for around 9 months now. So again, we are getting into a global release when we'll probably have more content than the game started with over there, which is pretty exciting. Probably have a more refined experience. From what I've heard of the playtests of Where Winds Meet, it is a very polished game, and even better than it was back then on the China version, so they've even improved it more, and I already liked the look of it from the China gameplay. Before we get into the rest of the video, I want to talk about today's sponsor, Foundation Galactic Frontier. If you love sci-fi worlds like Dune, Foundation Galactic Frontier is the first brand new sci-fi strategy RPG based on the Asimov Foundation IP, where you will play the role of a space trader in the Foundation universe. As the captain of your fleet, you will manage a crew, build out your flagship with different rooms providing different functionalities, from crafting to research and completing tasks, all while roaming freely across a map. Foundation Galactic Frontier also features a dual combat system where you can engage in 2 types of combat. If you're a fan of the Foundation series, you will also recognize characters like Harry Seldon, Balrios, and Demoiselle from the new season of the show. Foundation Galactic Frontier also features music from legendary composer Andreas Waltoft behind the Stellaris soundtrack. You can check out Foundation Galactic Frontier now by clicking the link in the description or scanning the QR code on the screen to download and check out the game now on PC or mobile. There's also a global launch event going on where you can get a free hero and battleship for beginners, as well as limited time cosmetics. Don't forget to use my code to get extra resources to help your journey. Once again, thank you to Foundation Galactic Frontier for sponsoring today's video. So again, jumping back into it, the whole idea that I believe it's an MMO, and to me, is that you have open world interactivity with other players, you have events, you have raids at endgame, you have dungeons, you also have a full campaign that apparently has 150 hours worth of content. You have all of these different PvP game modes, which is very important for me. You have 1v1, 2v2, I think 4v4 and 5v5 arenas, so arenas of all sizes. You also have a 30 versus 30 guild versus guild game mode, which sounds right up my alley coming from New World, especially if you're a Battlegrounds player like me, and I think that's going to sort of be a mix of a bit of a blend of both OPR and War for Us. It uses a very MOBA style looking map. I'm going to put an image up of the like map layout from the China version. It looks very MOBA-esque, which is pretty exciting. You also have a 60-player battle royale / extraction mode, which I think will be very fun. So there's a lot of in-game activities to have fun with. There is a trade post and trading. There's professions. You have, I believe, got some form of crafting. You've got a bunch of different, I guess, skill leveling is, I guess, the short term for it. Like leveling your skills and such. And there's a whole lot to do there. Whole lot of open world activities. And of course, I don't know the specifics because I haven't played it myself. But I have absorbed a bunch of content from a Chinese content creator that I will link in the description. His videos are translated with AI, but he really does go in depth in a lot of the systems in the game. There's, guilds. There's a faction system depending on what sort of profession you want to get into. So there's like a sort of, I guess, he called them industries for PvP players. There's one for PvE inclined players and one for traders and things like that. So there's a whole host of systems in this game that I think are really going to be interesting to try out. And more talking about the PvP side of things and the combat side of things is it's action combat. It has parrying, dodging. It has, around by the looks of it, 7 to 8 abilities, which is a little bit more than New World, but it's still not an overwhelming amount of abilities, which is very in line with what we like as New World players. And I think this game is definitely something to give a try. It's free. It has no pay to win, and it's coming out in less than 2 weeks now, about 14, 13 days. And, as New World outcasts, Amazon outcasts, it's something to at least try and take our minds off something, give something else a go. And the name I've been giving this game, or the nickname I've been giving this game, is New World Eben Scale Tales. Basically, it's just going to be, the way I'm putting it, is a New World game all about Eben Scale. So I thought that was a pretty funny term to throw out there. So yeah, basically New World's version of China. It's action combat. It does have, and I'll quickly want to mention, it does have a lock-on system, but hey, New World does too. So we can't really lie ourselves out of that one. But you can aim your attacks as well. So it's kind of an optional. I'm going to be aiming my attacks. The combat does look a little bit faster than New World in the sense that it looks like it might be a little bit more fast-paced, but it looks a lot slower paced than games like BDO and such, where it's sort of a fine line in between being too fast and being too slow. Of course, New World pacing was perfect to a lot of us, but hey, you kind of have to be happy with what you get. And I think that this game is really gonna be something special. In the sense that it's going to be different, but it's also going to be something fun, and it's worth giving it a shot. I'll have a bunch of resources in the description if you want to look into it a bit more. A really well put out guide by someone that played a playtest is going to be linked in the description as well. It's just like a 30-minute video. He goes over a lot more of the systems than I can, because obviously I haven't played the game. I've really only researched the game, and the things that are sticking out, it's the things I like to hear. It's got in-game, it's got PvP, it's got gearing, it's got action combat, it's got a bunch of different classes, events, and things like that, which is all that I really need to make me happy. It's got an open world with other players. I quickly want to mention that. You can also do the game single player without players in your map, but we're MMO players at the end of the day, so we're going to be doing the co-op or multiplayer option. So you can have other players interact with you while you're questing and such. I think that's pretty important. Yeah, man, I'm pretty excited for this game. Again, it's not labeled an MMO, but from everything the game has, it feels like an MMO. It has a layering system. I think the amount of players you can have in one, I guess, map that you can see is not insanely high like an MMO like Guild Wars or BDO or World of Warcraft, right? Even New World is actually quite up there now. But it has layers, and also has a guild hall, basically, like a guild hall, sort of hall area, where you can just be with 100 of your guild. I think guilds are up to 100 players, just like New World. And you can have all of your players visible from your guild in one area. There's also a bunch of mini games, which is pretty interesting. You can play like Mahjong, chess, and things like that. Hey, I mean, you know, little side activities. Why not? You love to see it. Bunch of different activities, action combat, bunch of PvP, bunch of PvE, bunch of the sort of general things that we like. So yeah, I think give it a shot. Let me know what you guys think. It's not going to be for everyone, but I think it's going to be a worthwhile pit stop. I appreciate you guys checking out this video. Once again, thank you to Foundation Galactic Frontier for sponsoring today's video. Check it out in the description. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.